Hello, everyone. Thank you for being on time and joining me in this class today. We are starting this unit, BSB WHS 401, and there are some updates will be released also to this unit at a later stage, but at the moment, this is what we are going through in the shell. So if any of you cannot see or access this unit, please let me know through email so I can forward the email to the admin side and they can fix your enrollment. For all new students, this is in this year, this is your first unit of study. So this unit, it's about WHS, work health and safety. And in this unit, we have the following assignments. So we have 3 assignments. You notice we have 2 attempts for each assignment. If you didn't pass the first one, so you have a second chance and so forth. So we have 3 assessment tasks here. And by the end of the delivery of this unit, I will highlight the assessments and unfold the assessment. But in the meantime, feel free to check what is there. Some of you already attended some WHS workshops in their workplace. They know about work health and safety. So maybe you have some experience with that or some knowledge. So it's a good idea to have a look on the assessments. All the assessments will include the assessment criteria, how I will assess your answers. So we will discuss that in details by the end of the delivery of this unit. Okay, for the content, when you click on the content, it will open the overview, of course, of the unit. And we have the learning resources on the left here, including different topics. So we have the welcome, WHS, legal requirements, policies, procedures, and programs, risks and hazards, consultation procedures, dealing with issues, communicate outcomes, providing training, costs of training, identify hazards, different hazards, hazard reporting, risk control, existing controls, record keeping, and some additional readings and some additional content. So as you see here, this is the overview of the unit with the assessments, and we are going through these ones, different sessions, and we are covering that together. So on the left hand, you will find the learning resources, and we start with the welcome. So after this session, I'm recording the session and I will upload the recording in Connect. You will find the recording there by tomorrow maximum. Once it's processed, then I will upload it to Connect, so you can find it if you want to review any of the topics. Okay, during the session, if you have a question, feel free to either unmute your mic and ask me or put that on the chat. I will get back to you as soon as I see it on the chat and as soon as possible. So here in this unit, we are implementing and monitoring WHS policies, procedures, and programs to meet legislative requirements. And this will cover some information to the work team about WHS policies and procedures, implement and monitor participation arrangements for managing WHS, implement and monitor organizational procedures for providing WHS training, Implement and monitor organizational procedures and legal requirements for identifying hazards and assessing and controlling risks. Implement and monitor organizational procedures for maintaining WHS records for the team. So these are the topics we are going to cover, and by the end of the unit, you will know about these topics. So let me ask you a question as a start, and you can answer in the chat, or you can unmute your mic, as I mentioned. Have you noticed during your shopping or just hanging around in any of the shopping centers, have you noticed any signs related to WHS?
Maybe when they are mopping the floor in the shopping center or something.
Yes.
Like when it's slippery.
Yeah. This yellow plastic cone.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the moment, with the whole COVID stuff,
yes.
Would that also not count? You know.
Yes.
QR codes.
Exactly.
The sanitizer to sanitize your hands and wipe down the trolley handle.
Yes. Correct. Social distance. 1.5 meters social distance. Okay, any other signs related to WHS in your workplace, in your
there's the always when they're doing, when there's construction signs, if they're doing up a shop, redoing a shop, they'll be letting you know it's noisy inside, or hard barricades keeping you out, things like that.
Yeah, so you need to wear PPE, for example, personal protective equipment. Okay, any other signs? Radiation sign, hard hats, trip hazard, wet floor. Yes, that's good from the chat. Yes. Okay, good. No smoking. Also, yes. Beware of okay. Electricity hazards, yes. Some chemical hazards. Stuff only entry or no entry. Okay. Cameras in place, okay, for your privacy. Good. So in the introduction for this unit, we have some terminology. So when we say PCBU, which is a person conducting a business or undertaking, replaces the term employer. Okay, so we will use PCPU, and worker replaces the term employee. So this is what we are using in the unit. So we will think together and discuss together managing WHS information and training, procedures for controlling and maintaining records of hazards and risks. So in some cases, we use also OHS instead of using WHS. So OHS, occupational health and safety, WHS, work health and safety. So sometimes we use either terms. So for our unit, we are using WHS. So we have some legal requirements. For example, when I go to TAFE, as Udi mentioned, it's telling you this is the entrance and this is the exit. So you should use just for the social distance because of COVID-19. So this door or this area is just for entering the building. This area is just to exit the building. You will notice that in different also shopping centers, shops, restaurants, and so forth. QR code is there, hand sanitizers, fire equipment, no smoking, fire extinguisher, our hose, slippery area. Watch out for the attacking birds. Yes, in some parks. Yeah. So we have these signs, and for example, 2 people only in the elevator, in the lift, only 2 people. So we have some legal requirements. For example, in old days, we used to smoke in the workplace or in classes, but this is not permitted anymore. It's prohibited everywhere. So we cannot smoke in any class or inside any building. And most of the buildings they have, or the organization, they have a dedicated smoking area, or like in TAFE, we are a smoke-free campus. So some organizations, they have like 5 meters away from the entrance, but in TAFE, it's smoke-free campus. In airports, sometimes, or in most of the airports, there is a dedicated area for smokers. So it's a legal requirement to have these signs, not to allow smoking within the building. This is not the only thing, of course. I'm using some examples, but we have lots and lots of examples to discuss throughout the unit. So we have some acts, regulations, and codes of practice at TAFE, or in your, even whatever your work you have, your sole trader or personal business you have. Also, you cannot permit something that is prohibited by the state government. So if it's against that, you cannot do it. So we have some acts, regulations, and codes of practice, of course, and we have some examples here. So environmental legislation, the way you are dealing with the environment. We will go into more details in a moment. Anti-discrimination. So it's obvious, of course. If I'm applying for TAFE and someone applying for TAFE to join TAFE or any other organization, we should be treated equally from different aspects: the interview process, the salary package, and whatever our color is, background, age, gender, and so forth. Privacy laws. For example, I have some access to your personal information, but not everything. I don't have access to your physical addresses. I have access to your grades, your emails. I don't think I have access to your date of birth. Admin team, they have access maybe to your date of birth, but they don't have access to your grades and so forth. They can see the final grades, not the detailed grades, and they see pass or fail. They don't see any details more than that, and so forth. So we have some privacy laws here. When you applied for TAFE, you filled some forms. This information, it's not accessible by everyone in TAFE. It is not accessible by all teachers. It's not even accessible by myself. I can access some, but not everything. I can access what I need only for my work, like your email address. We have different roles and responsibilities in the WHS. So we have, in TAFE, we have a department or a team responsible for the WHS, and they create the policies. For example, no smoking policy, or campus smoke-free policy. All these types of policies will be created by this team, approved by top management, matches the act and the legal acts, of course. We have common law duties, like no smoking in any building across Australia. There is no smoking at all. We must have fire extinguisher and other equipments like hose and alarm system in all our houses. We have alarm system for the fire. In all our organization, we must have fire extinguisher or more than that, and more than that, like fire hose and other sensors, alarms, and so forth. So it's a common law, and we have some duties. We have fire wardens, we have in the organization, we have first aiders, and it's mandatory to have 2 first aider per building in the training environments. And of course, it depends on the size and the number of employees/students. So some details about the environmental legislation. So we have the EPPC Act 1999, and this is the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. And in this act, you can just click to see the item like World Heritage Properties, National Heritage Places, or you can show all items. So wetlands of international importance, Ramsar Convention, nationally threatened species and ecological communities, migratory species, Commonwealth marine areas, Great Barrier Reef, marine park, the environment where nuclear actions are involved, including uranium mines. So we have some checklist for nationally protected matters. Again, just some examples, not everything. It's impossible to have a list of everything, too much to study that. So some examples just to clarify the points we are discussing. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. I should click the roles, different roles. So who is responsible for the WHS? In fact, everyone in the organization is responsible for that, responsible for understanding, responsible for maintaining, for applying, for adhering. So everyone is responsible for that, but we have some accountable teams, as I mentioned. They will create the policies, they will create the procedures, they will create the different controls and implement them. So we are using here all levels of government regulate activities to protect the environment. The federal government's role is specifically focused on protecting these matters. So as I told you, in this unit, we have some definitions and some legal terms. So we need to really understand them and read them also. So this will be applied to anyone whose activity is likely to have a significant impact on any nationally protected matters. For example, mining. If we are owning a mine or mining companies, councils, states, farmers, developers, landowners, Commonwealth agencies, all of that, they must have some kind of approval or permit or license to do their work. So the state and territory acts can apply to certain business activities that affects any type of the environmental sections. So for example, here, if you are doing something will affect different parks, so we need permission or license. Some heritage sites, we still need permission or license, air and or water. So also we can or we must get the permission or license if we have some activities like importing or exporting wildlife products, hazardous wastes, ozone depleting substances, synthetic greenhouse gases, and so forth. So this will require a kind of license or permit. Okay, that makes sense. I hope so. Again, feel free to ask questions on the chat. Anti-discrimination, so it's important for the stability of the community and justice system. So we have these laws at all levels, all territories or states. So here, under the federal and state legislation, it's unlawful discrimination occurs when someone or a group of people is treated less favorably than another person or group because of their race, color, national or ethnic origin, gender, pregnancy or marital status, age, disability, religion, sexual preferences, trade union activity, or some other characteristics specified under anti-discrimination or human rights legislation. Here you can see the act or the different laws that we have. It matches also the United Nations. So it's a global law, not only across Australia or across the state. So it can occur in different situations like recruiting, and when you select staff, it can occur in the benefits offered as part of the employment or different contracts, who receives training and what source of training is offered, who is considered and selected for transfer, promotion, retrenchment, or dismissal. So we need to make sure these rules applied on everyone equally and in a proper way. So yeah, we still need more to grow and acquire more maturity, even though we are in the 21st century, but we still to improve on that. So we have laws, and these laws provide a range of grounds for a person to lodge a complaint if they feel they have been discriminated against on the basis of a certain characteristic, including, as we mentioned, disability, age, race, gender. We have also, any question before we go to different point? Okay. We have privacy law and confidentiality. So under my contract with TAFE, I need to adhere to privacy policy by TAFE. And if this policy changed, I need to know the new one. They need to inform me about the new one. I need to know the new one. In TAFE, we have some courses running frequently, every month, every term, every year, it depends. So we can refresh our knowledge about our policies and laws and regulations in the workplace. Yeah, I'm getting a funny question or comment saying, but you are a hacker by trade. You are an ethical hacker, security professional. So we are learning that to protect actually the digital assets. We are protecting the information. We are protecting the privacy of people against the bad guys. Yes, this is what we are doing, and this is what we are learning. We are here to study how to defend against attacks that target our privacy. Yes, correct. So we have federal laws and regulations. We have state and territory also legislation related to privacy. So any personal information you acquire during your work must be kept confidential. I cannot, for example, take the list of your names and the email addresses and share it with my friends in a different organization so they can spam you or use that in their marketing activities. It's against the law. I could be dismissed or arrested or whatever the consequences are. So any information related to injuries or illness, occupationally acquired or not. So we need to adhere to the policy and follow the policy. Okay. As we know, of course, we might have slight variations between different states and territories, but we must have a privacy policy and confidentiality law. So even though there are some slight variations, but we still have the privacy and confidentiality laws. Okay. For the roles and responsibilities, as I mentioned, we are protecting workers, contractors. So it's a requirement from the PCPU or PCPUs. Any member of the public visiting, for example, our organization, they must feel safe. They follow some procedures, some policies, social distance, wearing a mask, sanitize their hand, enter from the entry point, exit from the exit point. They don't go to staff only areas. If I have a visitor, I don't take the visitor to the staff only areas at all. It's against the policy and the procedures. So if we have any kind of risks, we need to eliminate that or reducing the risks. It's called duty of care. So duty of care, protecting the organization, protecting everyone in the organization, visiting the organization also. So here, the PCPUs should monitor the health of workers to minimize risks and WHS issues. So if I'm coughing, sneezing, I shouldn't go to work. If I did that, my supervisor should tell me to leave the place. Exchange information about WHS risks and controls. They need to tell me about updates. So we are getting emails, we are getting workshops, we are attending workshops for the updated policies and procedures. We, with the team I mentioned about the WHS representatives and workers, so they will interact with us, telling us about the different issues, maybe issue with the aircon, or we have testing for the alarming system. So we need to inform people about that, tell people about wearing enclosed shoes, for example, wearing PPEs and so forth. So it is mandatory by law for the PSPUs to do that. As workers, we need to know who are the WHS representatives and how can we contact them. What is the communication channel? If we have an issue related to environment, air pollution, water, anything. So I need to contact them. I need to know how. We follow, as workers, we follow measures put in place to protect our safety. And as I mentioned, we wear our PPE and we follow safe operating procedures. We also, as workers, we exchange information. If I'm going to TIFF campus and I'm wearing a mask and notice to my colleague she's not wearing a mask, I should remind her, tell her that you should wear a mask, or bring a mask, extra mask for her and give it to her. So we take care of each other. Some students, for example, all students, they must wear enclosed shoes if they come with sandals or thongs or whatever, we tell them, no, this is not the right thing. So we have a kind of responsibility. It depends on the policy in the workplace, and we should follow that. So we agree on the procedures. In some cases, we tell the worker or the student to go home. So yeah, if I'm sick and I went to TAFE, sneezing, coughing, and everything, my manager should tell me to go home instead of infecting everyone, spreading my germs around. So as WHS representative, so we need to understand this team, what they are doing. They are represent workers in relation to WHS issues. Also, they attempt to resolve any issues, WHS issues, of course, for those workers they represent. So they are trying to tell us about that. For example, they make sure we are wearing the PPEs, or they provide that, of course, to us and make sure we are wearing them. Excuse me. Hand sanitizers and other examples. All good. We have common law duties, so it might include some requirements to meet the general duty of care. I have noticed, for example, in many areas, not only the organizations like TAFE, they clean, extra clean the tables, chairs, and so forth. Trolleys in supermarkets, even in transportation, I have seen cleaning companies. They clean the trains and buses from inside and clean everything. So this will reduce the spread of any germs, including the current virus we are facing, COVID-19, with all the versions. So we're trying to do that, and we have these base common law duties, and it can change over time. 2 years ago, we never heard about COVID. We never took these precautions. We never did all these things we are doing now, like wearing masks, social distancing, hand sanitizers, other things. So we never did that before, but because of what happened, and because of that, we needed to have new laws in place, new regulations in place. So from time to time, we will update the laws and regulations, and we need to inform everyone about that. We need to clarify that to different workers, and if it's across the state, like lockdown or wearing masks and so forth. So everyone should adhere to that and should get informed first, so we can know about that. I know it's common sense what we are discussing, but sometimes the common sense is not common. Any questions? Any questions here? For the regulations, we have the WHS regulations. So some duties under the WHS Act, and this is a must. It is a must to follow that and have administrative procedures and requirements. For example, the fire extinguisher we check on the validity and expiry date and everything. We are making sure that it's still valid, we can use it, it's still active, and we can use the fire extinguisher properly. We test the alarm system from time to time. We test the electrical equipment. So it is a must that we adhere to this act. And from that act, we are getting some mandatory requirements for managing the WHS. So yes, we have a sign saying no smoking, but what if someone smoked there? What we can do? Should we fire this person? Should we arrest this person? Should we call the police? Should we do something? So we need to not only having the sign there and that's it. We have the no smoking sign and we don't care. No, we need to monitor that it's implemented or not. Is it implemented there? Everyone is adhering to or not? So we need to have that in the policy. In many cases, when we sign the contract, we sign also different policies and procedures. For example, the IT policy. And the regulations will cover general requirements for hazard identification, risk assessment, and risk controls. So hazard like wet floor, it is a hazard. Okay. Some spilled oil or coffee, this is a hazard. It's a potential risk, potential accident could happen, potential incident could happen. Okay, so controls, we put this yellow cone saying wet area, wet floor, or where the PPE. So this is the controls we are using for different or high risk areas. And regulations may cover, but not limited to, the following: hazards, substances, occupational noise, plant, manual handling, confined spaces, working at heights, measure like wearing some controls like wearing the harness or wearing hard hats and so forth. Measure hazardous facilities, electrical safety. So my laptop adapter is checked regularly with by TAFE employees, by the WHS representative. Maybe they are hiring a third party under their supervision to do that. So some electrical safety, driver fatigue, construction work, competency standard for users and operators of industrial equipment, storage and handling of dangerous goods. So regulations will cover all these things in addition to other things, of course. So in the workplace, we have the accident compensation. If accident happen, we have workers' compensation, we have dangerous goods, we have some equipment like servers, routers, switches, laptops, computers, power cords and extensions, lighting, disks, mines. So the regulations will cover different workplaces and different areas, in addition to different types of acts and different types of actions. So we have also what's called codes of practice, and we can call them compliance codes, so, or code of conduct. So for example, when you go into transportation like bus or train, they tell you are not allowed to eat or drink. You are not allowed to have your bike in some specific times or in some methods or ways of transportation. Of course, you are not allowed to smoke or annoy others and so forth. So some compliance codes there. So nowadays, wearing masks, mandatory, social distance. We don't sit next to each other in the bus or the train. So we have like social distance implemented, or in the airplane. So we are providing guidance to assist duty holders to eliminate or control risks. We try to eliminate the risk. If we can't, we try to control, reduce the risk. And if we can't, at least we monitor and protect people. They recommend practical instructions on how to meet the terms of the law and state ways to manage exposure to risks. So we can have some examples here, how to manage WHS risks, safe design of the building and structure. How can I manage the electrical risks at the workplace? If I see a risk, what should I do? Try to fix that, or report that, or ignore. So the policy will say report in most cases. Managing noise and preventing hearing loss. So you wear personal protective equipments, and other types. We must have first aiders and first aid equipment and tools in the workplace. So we are providing practical guidance, fire exit or emergency exit. So in each class in TAFE, you will notice there is a map for the emergency exit, some other code of practice for the procedure when we hear the alarm, the emergency alarm system. So what we need to do, should we follow the wait and follow the fire warden, or we should evacuate and go to the master point? If we are evacuating, so which way to follow, and so forth. So it should be followed unless there is another solution that achieves the same or better standard of health and safety, can be used to support a prosecution. So every organization is advised to obtain copies of code of practice that are relevant to their workplace and the hazards they face in their work. So this is the note here about the code of practice with some examples here. Any question? All good? Okay, self-quiz, then we are getting 10 minutes break. So please answer the following short question, short answer question. What are the responsibilities of PCPUs under WHS legislation? Anyone can help me with that? Anyone?
Duty of care.
Okay, yes. Okay, any other inputs? This is just self-quiz. It's not related to your assessment or anything. I'm not testing anyone. Any other?
Provision and maintenance of a safe work environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, good. Thank you. Thank you, Woody and Sheena. Yeah, any other inputs? You remember PSPs are the employers, so they have some responsibilities. They need to tell us about the policy. They need to follow up on that. They need to implement and make sure it's implemented. They need to monitor. Yeah, anyone wants to say anything?
Accident compensation?
Yeah, in the workplace. So we should have insurance, public liability insurance, for example. Yeah, good. They should have the equipment for controlling different risks like fire extinguisher or and no smoking and so forth. So
is there people with their feeling discriminated against, that they can speak with the employers about it?
Yes, good one. Yeah, so yes, good, thank you. Okay, so now we are taking 10 minutes break, or you want 15? Okay.
10's fine, but yeah, whatever you want to do.
10 minutes, just grabbing some coffee or tea or something, then we'll continue. I'll stop recording now.